Andrew Rockwell, the owner of a small car repair shop, was feeling disheartened. His earnings had plummeted, and making ends meet seemed nearly impossible. These thoughts weighed heavily on him during a cold Thanksgiving evening. While most people were enjoying festive dinners with their families, Andrew decided to assist a family stranded with car trouble, sacrificing his own holiday plans to fix their vehicle. This simple gesture of kindness set off a chain of events that would transform his life in ways he never imagined. Wiping the sweat from his forehead, Andrew glanced at the financial records of his modest repair shop. The outlook was bleak. Bills continued to accumulate, and customers were becoming rare in their small town. The chilly November wind shook the windows of the workshop as he sat alone, lost in thought. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. It was his sister, Lena. "Are you coming for Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow? The kids are excited to see Uncle Andrew," she asked. A smile spread across Andrew's face as he thought of his nephew. "Of course, I'll be there at 6 p.m., he assured her. The following morning, Andrew spent a few hours working on the few cars that came in. Business was painfully slow during the holiday season, many people leaving town to visit family. He was barely managing to pay his 3 employees their wages. By 4 p.m., Andrew locked up the shop, slipped on his worn-out jacket, and headed toward his old car. The temperature had dropped below freezing, and snow had begun to fall. As he reached for the door handle, his phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. "Hello, is this Rockwell's Auto Repair?" a worried woman's voice asked. "Our car broke down on the highway. We have been calling every shop around, but no one is answering because of Thanksgiving. We have small children with us." Andrew glanced at his watch. His sister was expecting him, and he knew his family would be disappointed if he was late. But the urgency in the woman's voice left no room for hesitation. "Where exactly are you?" he asked. "I'll come to help." "Thank you so much," the woman replied, relief evident in her voice. "I'm sending you our location. The car just stopped working." "We were on our way to Chicago to visit my mother in the hospital," the woman explained, her voice trembling from the cold. Andrew quickly called his sister. "Lena, I'm really sorry. There's a family stranded on the highway with kids. I have to help them." Lena sighed, but was not surprised. This was typical of her brother, always putting others before himself. "I understand, Andrew. Just be careful out there." Driving through the worsening snowstorm, Andrew carefully navigated the icy roads. After about 15 minutes, he spotted a white SUV parked on the shoulder. A man stood outside, waving a flashlight to signal for help. Inside the car, a woman huddled with 2 children, doing her best to keep them warm. The man introduced himself as Morgan. "We can't thank you enough for coming out on Thanksgiving. Every other place was closed, and we had no idea what to do," he said, his relief palpable. Andrew nodded and got straight to work. The temperature was dropping rapidly, and he knew time was of the essence. His only concern was getting the family back on the road safely. What Andrew did not realize was that this selfless act would soon change his life in ways he could not imagine. He popped the hood and examined the engine. Despite the SUV being a high-end model, it had a significant fuel injection issue. Fixing it would not be quick. It would take at least 2 to 3 hours. The snow continued to fall heavily, and the wind howled louder. Andrew inspected the SUV once more and turned to Morgan. "Your car needs significant repairs. It is not safe to drive in this condition," he explained. "The closest open repair shop is in Chicago, about 2 hours away. I can fix it here, but it's going to take some time." Morgan glanced back at the 2 children, bundled in blankets, their eyes wide with fear. His wife, Linda, spoke softly, her voice heavy with worry. "We really need to get to Chicago tonight. My mother had a heart attack. The doctors say—" Her words faltered as emotion overcame her, and Morgan gently held her hand to comfort her. Andrew paused, considering their situation. "My shop is just 15 minutes from here," he offered. "I can tow your car there and do the repairs properly. It's warmer, and there's a small waiting area where your family can wait comfortably." Relieved, Morgan and Linda agreed to the plan. Once at the shop, Andrew set to work under the bright lights, determined to get the family back on the road. Morgan stood nearby, making a series of phone calls in hushed tones, while Linda kept the children occupied with coloring books she pulled from her bag. Luxurious ones, like everything else they seemed to own. Hours passed. Andrew's hands grew cold and sore, but he did not stop. He could see the anxiety etched on Linda's face, her thoughts clearly with her mother. It reminded him of his own mother, whom he had lost 3 years earlier. He understood the urgency, the need to be with loved ones in critical moments. Finally, around 8 p.m., Andrew tightened the last bolt and stepped back. The repairs were complete. He had replaced several key parts, working as quickly as he could despite the freezing temperatures and fatigue. When Morgan asked for the bill, Andrew hesitated. The repair had cost over $900 just for the parts, and charging a family desperate to reach a hospital on Thanksgiving did not sit right with him. Just pay for the parts? No manpower charge today, Andrew said with a kind smile. Morgan tried to insist on paying the full amount, but Andrew shook his head. Consider it a Thanksgiving gift. The important thing is that you get your family to Chicago safely. Linda's eyes filled with tears, and she hugged Andrew tightly. Thank you so much, she whispered, her voice trembling with gratitude. As they prepared to leave, Morgan handed Andrew a business card. We'll never forget what you did for us tonight. You gave up your holiday to help strangers. People like you are rare, Morgan said sincerely. Andrew slipped the card into his pocket without a second thought. He was not looking for recognition. Helping them had been enough. The family drove off into the snowy night, and Andrew closed his shop, exhausted but filled with a sense of quiet satisfaction. Little did he know, that small piece of paper in his pocket would soon change everything. The next morning, Andrew arrived at the shop early. As he was tidying up, he remembered the business card Morgan had given him. Curious, he pulled it out and finally read it. Andrew's eyes widened in shock as he read the name on the business card. J.P. Morgan, CEO of Aero Auto Parts Industries, the largest car parts manufacturer. For a moment, he could hardly believe it. He had unknowingly helped the head of a billion-dollar corporation. But even as the realization sank in, Andrew felt no regrets. He had done what he believed was right, without caring about who they were. A week passed, and Andrew returned to the daily grind of keeping his struggling repair shop afloat. Despite his best efforts, business remained slow. He was forced to let one of his employees go, a painful decision, and the mounting bills pushed him closer to financial collapse. The bank had even begun threatening to foreclose on his shop. One cold December morning, as Andrew unlocked the shop, a sleek black Lexus pulled up outside. He watched in surprise as Morgan stepped out, dressed in an expensive suit that probably cost more than Andrew's monthly income. Good morning, Andrew. Do you have a moment to talk? Morgan greeted him warmly. Curious and slightly nervous, Andrew led him into the office. Once inside, Morgan wasted no time. After you helped us that night, we made it to Chicago in time, Morgan began. Linda's mother is recovering well, and we're incredibly grateful. But that's not the reason I'm here today. Your kindness that night impressed me deeply, Morgan continued, his tone sincere. I did some research on your shop. You are known for honest work and fair prices. People trust you, and that's exactly what I need. Andrew listened, still unsure where this conversation was headed. I'm expanding Aero Auto Parts Industries, Morgan explained. We're launching a network of authorized service centers across the country, and I want your shop to be our first flagship location. Andrew's eyes widened in disbelief. Flagship location? He echoed, struggling to process the offer. Yes, Morgan said with a reassuring smile. We'll cover everything: renovation, new equipment, staff training. Your shop will set the standard for every location that follows. Andrew hesitated, overwhelmed. But my shop is small. I can barely keep it running, he admitted. Exactly, Morgan said. That's why I'm here. You proved your character on Thanksgiving night. Money can't buy integrity like yours. Morgan leaned forward. We'll keep your name on the shop. You will remain the owner, but with our full backing. No more financial struggles. What do you say? He placed a contract on the table. The terms were almost too good to be true. Full autonomy over operations, a guaranteed supply of high-quality parts, and a partnership that would eliminate all of Andrew's financial worries. Andrew stared at the contract, thinking about all the times he had helped people in need, just like he had helped Morgan's family that snowy night. For him, doing the right thing had always come first, even when it cost him. Finally, he looked up at Morgan, gratitude and determination in his eyes. This was the opportunity of a lifetime. Andrew thought about all the times he had lowered prices for customers in need, often at his own expense. Now, that same kindness was coming back to him in ways he could never have imagined. With hands trembling from a mix of excitement and disbelief, he signed the contract. In the weeks that followed, his small shop underwent a remarkable transformation. Brand new equipment arrived almost daily, replacing his old, worn-out tools. The faded, weathered sign outside was replaced with a sleek new one. Rockwell's Auto Care, a partner of Aero Auto Parts Company. Soon, his former employee returned, along with 3 new skilled mechanics eager to join the team. Despite the changes, Andrew maintained his commitment to fair pricing and honest work, the values that had built his reputation. Word of the shop's integrity and quality spread quickly, drawing customers from neighboring towns who trusted the Rockwell name. Business was booming, and the once struggling repair shop became a beacon of reliability in the community. One afternoon, Linda Morgan visited the shop with her children. She smiled warmly as she approached Andrew. "My mother asks about you often," she said. "She believes you're the reason she got to see her grandchildren that Thanksgiving." The children handed Andrew a drawing they had made of him fixing cars, their small faces beaming with gratitude. Morgan's support did not stop at the shop. He invited Andrew to industry events, introducing him to influential figures in the automotive world. "This is the man who showed me what true service means," Morgan would proudly say to anyone who would listen. Through it all, Andrew remained humble. Despite his newfound success, he treated every customer with the same kindness and respect, just as he always had. One morning, as Andrew prepared for another busy day, a familiar face walked through the door. It was Lena, his sister. She paused, taking in the sight of the transformed shop, now bustling with activity and gleaming with new equipment. Her eyes filled with tears. "Mom and Dad would be so proud," she said softly, her voice thick with emotion. "Remember how Dad always said, 'Kindness comes back to you'?" Andrew smiled, the memory warming his heart. His parents' words had always guided him, and now they seemed truer than ever. With the shop's newfound success, Andrew was finally able to give back to the community in a meaningful way. He launched a program offering discounted or free car repairs for low-income families, remembering the times when he himself had struggled to make ends meet. When Andrew shared the idea with Morgan, the CEO did not hesitate. "I'll match every dollar you put into the program," Morgan said, fully supporting the initiative. Soon, local news channels picked up the story, calling it the Thanksgiving Miracle. Reporters highlighted how Rockwell's Auto Care had become more than just a repair shop. It was now a symbol of compassion and community. But Andrew knew it was not about just that one snowy night. It was about every decision he had made to put kindness first, even when he had little to give. The following Thanksgiving, Andrew decided to host a special dinner at the shop for his employees and their families. It was his way of thanking them for their hard work and loyalty. Morgan and Linda, along with their children, were also in attendance. As Andrew looked around the room, filled with laughter, warmth, and smiling faces, he felt a deep sense of gratitude. In just 1 year, his life had transformed in ways he never expected. What had once been a struggling repair shop was now a thriving business. and a community hub built on kindness, integrity, and the simple belief that helping others always matters. During the Thanksgiving dinner, Morgan looked around at the people gathered and spoke up, his voice full of admiration. "You know what makes this special?" he said. "You're still the same person who helped us that night. Success hasn't changed your heart." Andrew nodded, feeling a sense of peace wash over him. He realized that his greatest wealth was not in his bank account. It was in the lives he had touched and the relationships he had built along the way. 3 years after that snowy Thanksgiving, Rockwell's Auto Care had become a model for all Aero Auto Parts service centers. Andrew now oversaw 5 locations across Chicago, each one following the same principles of honest service and kindness that had defined his shop from the very beginning. Every Thanksgiving, Andrew kept his original shop open for emergencies, and his team volunteered to help stranded travelers, never charging for labor that day. "It's our way of keeping the spirit of that night alive," Andrew would tell new employees, passing down the tradition of generosity that had transformed his life. Linda's mother had fully recovered, and she often visited the shop, bringing cookies for the team and sharing how Andrew's kindness had given her extra years with her grandchildren. The drawing the children made of Andrew fixing cars still hung in his office, a constant reminder of where it all started. The bank that had once threatened to foreclose on his shop now featured Andrew in their small business success stories. But whenever the story was told, he made sure to include how Morgan had taken a chance on him, simply because of one act of kindness. For Andrew, success was not just about what he had achieved. It was about the impact he had made, the people he had helped, and the kindness he had passed on. And with each passing year, the spirit of that Thanksgiving night continued to live on in everything he did. Andrew eventually established a foundation aimed at helping young people learn auto repair, believing that everyone deserves a chance. Morgan supported this vision, matching every donation, which turned the foundation into $1 million program. Many students who graduated from the program found jobs at Aero Auto Parts Industries, continuing the cycle of opportunity and kindness. Lena's children now worked at the shop during their summer breaks, learning valuable skills and the importance of compassion. "Uncle Andrew taught us that being kind is the best business plan," his nephew proudly told customers. Each time Andrew heard this, he smiled, knowing his parents would have loved seeing their grandchildren carry on the lesson of kindness. One week, another stranded family arrived at the shop, and Andrew worked on their car himself, just like the old days. The father, curious, asked why such a successful business owner still worked on cars. With a warm smile, Andrew shared the Thanksgiving story. "Sometimes the smallest choices have the biggest impact," Andrew said. "I could have driven past that family in the snow, but instead, I stopped. That choice changed everything." The man nodded, understanding the deeper meaning behind Andrew's words. Today, Andrew's shop has become more than just a business. It is a symbol of how kindness can transform lives. Every car that leaves the shop carries a story of hope, of doing the right thing, and of how good things truly happen to good people. Thank you for watching. Tap that like button and subscribe to the Luminary Paths channel for more inspiring stories.